Good evening, I'm Dagan McDowell.
And I'm Sean Duffy. Welcome to The Bottom Line.
We're going to get right to this. Don't be fooled by his busy schedule. Joe Biden may be kicking off a nationwide tour to push his spending spree, but our commander in confusion will need a lot more than a cup of Joe to get going.
So far, he's been hitting up the doom loop hotspots, jet setting to liberal cities like New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, where business districts are suffering from a glut of remote work. Meanwhile, Biden's busy yucking it up with his rich pals and getting cozy with his friendly press corps.
Today, he sat down for a rare live interview with MSNBC, and we saw why they're rare with this weird wander down and off of memory lane.
When I ran for 2020, I made a speech on the threat to democracy. It was awfully hard to stay silent when I saw those people coming out of the woods. I mean, literally, you never think we see people in Charlottesville, Virginia,
without the hoods, yeah,
coming out of the woods with lighted torches. You may recall, I got very upset with the last president, and even with my good friend, Lindsey. This ain't your father's Republican Party.
Yeah, we were shocked when we learned he'd be live, and after that, he might want to keep it a rarity. So according to the New York Times, Biden has done 54 interviews in the last 2 years of his presidency, far below his predecessor's tally. Since then, he's done at least 2 more TV interviews with both friendly MSNBC.
But the American people want and deserve answers to tough questions, like why all of a sudden did we learn that the president has sleep apnea yesterday after the whole world saw CPAP headgear indentations on his face? And why can't he give a clear answer to simple questions like this?
To what extent has Vladimir Putin been weakened by recent events?
It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home.
If the White House thinks they can cover for Joe, they better think again.
I'm gonna tell you something, man. The biggest issue Joe Biden gonna face in 2024 is Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, I saw a poll that came out this week, and I think he's leading Trump in a general election poll by like 4 points or something like that. But everybody's concerned about his age and his mental well-being. Is he physically capable of being able to do the job because he's so old? His biggest problem he's gonna have in 2024 is himself.
And it's not his age, is who he is right now at that age. And if he's having these problems in front of the camera, could you just imagine what's happening behind the camera?
Let's bring in Fox News contributor Leo 2.0 Terrell. Everybody can see it, and the people who are pulling the strings and Biden himself act like they're getting one over on us.
No, it's obvious. And you know what? The people, even on the left, Dagan, they see it, they know it, but party loyalty is keeping them quiet. But the American people are not being fooled. He's getting worse day to day. And it's obvious. This man is not fit to be president. It's not his age. It's his mental skills that have diminished tremendously. And they're continually diminishing.
So, Leo, Democrats see the same things that you and I see. And again, you're right. It's the physical side. It's the mental side. It's the problems now that he has with his son Hunter and possibly being compromised. You would think they would throw him out and take a new candidate instead of covering for him, but they're not. They're keeping old Joe propped up. I wonder, what do Democrats know about the upcoming election that we don't understand?
Well, I'll tell you, Sean, first of all, it's about power and control. They don't care who's out in front. Look at John Fetterman. Look at Dianne Feinstein. Right. If they control the seat, they have the power. And that's all the Democrats are concerned about. They're not concerned about America. They're concerned about their own power base. As long as Joe Biden can stand up, that's okay for them. However, I don't think he's going to be the candidate. I think he's just a bad situation, and I think sooner or later he's going to do the LBJ of 1968.
Well, I'm going to light a fuse. Biden wasted no time attacking the Supreme Court's decision on affirmative action, Leo. Watch this.
Is this a rogue court?
This is not a normal court.
Should there be term limits for the justices, sir?
The end of affirmative action today. Go.
Thank you very much. First of all, if he's not a normal president, that's an insult to the integrity of the Supreme Court. And let me be very clear. It was a great day for America because this Supreme Court basically declared that state-sponsored, government-sponsored racism is illegal. It is a crime to basically deny individuals simply because of their skin color the right to attend a private or public university. And I'll tell you right now, by a 6-3 vote, and thank goodness for those Trump appointees, they looked at the Constitution, Dagan. The Constitution was a big victory today. The 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause that said you can't look at someone based on race. And I'll tell you something else, too. This was a victory for all Americans because affirmative action stigmatized people of color. And I'm glad it's over with. We don't live in 1865. Look at our country. It's diverse everywhere. By the way, we got a black Supreme Court justice, 2 of them. We had a black president. Look at people of color. They are in every aspect of the private and public sector. So I find it offensive. Last point. The Democrats never want to end affirmative action. They wanted to keep it as a tool to keep black people thinking we still need help. I got news for you. Hard work is what we need, and that's what's happening. That is the change in this country.
You know, Biden then, Leo, tried to attempt to clarify his remarks on MSNBC. Check this out.
It's done more to unravel basic rights and basic decisions than any court in recent history. And that's what I meant by not normal. It's gone out of its way to, I mean, for example, take a look at overruling Roe v. Wade. Well, I think they may do too much harm, but I think if we start the process of trying to expand the court, we're going to politicize it maybe forever in a way that is not healthy.
That you can't get back.
That you can't get back.
Well, I'm grateful he's coming out and saying we shouldn't pack the court. That is one thing that I agree with Joe Biden on. But Leo, wasn't this a day where the court rejected equity and stood for equality and stood for merit to say we're not going to look at anyone's skin color? We're going to look at how well you can perform on tests and perform with your studies, and that's going to determine whether you get into our school.
You're absolutely right, Sean. That's the beauty of this great country. It's based on merit. The best skilled individuals, and everyone starts off with different opportunities. But you don't penalize anyone simply because of their skin color. And that was happening to Asian Americans. When you look at the 14th Amendment, which was a post-Civil War amendment, it was designed to create equality. And what the Supreme Court did today was basically saying we're not going to look at your skin color when it comes to job opportunities, college admissions, because this case will have a rippling effect not only in the educational world, but in the business world and commerce and every aspect. Now people can say you cannot discriminate against me because of my skin color. It's an unbelievable day. As a civil rights attorney for 30 years, I am proud that this decision came down.
And Leo, before we go, California's Slavery Reparations Board has reached its conclusion. 2 years of deliberations, a 1,000-page report, but no price tag. They did offer up 100 ways to repay eligible black individuals through policy changes, but would not come up with a dollar amount other than to say it's going to be expensive.
Dagan, save this tape. We will never see reparations paid in California. Again, it's illegal, it's unconstitutional, it violates the Equal Protection Clause. They can't show any form of damages of people living today that are directly affected by the Civil War. It doesn't make any sense. And they should also, these state lawmakers in California, make sure they read today's case about affirmative action, how it was struck down. Because if they try to pass reparations in California, I would be the first attorney at the doorstep filing a lawsuit that it violates the 14th Amendment and the Equal Protection Clause.
Leo Terrell always bringing the heat. I love it. The only thing I missed today was the hat, Leo 2.0 hat, but maybe next time, Leo. Thank you for joining us. Always wonderful.
Thank you. Say hi to Rachel.
I will. Thank you.
Big hug.
Leo's,
Big hug, Leo.
Leo's her favorite. All right, coming up.